Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today's video is going to be some sort of an open forum in regard to a discussion. So in my last few videos regarding the dark zone, a lot of agents have been giving a lot of feedback. So I wanted to go ahead and present one which someone proposed as a possible solution to some of the issues within the dark zone. And I would like for you guys to go ahead and respond nonetheless, because I feel it's critical that these questions and these conversations be had, because the developers, they will go around looking at stuff, and I've seen from some of our conversations that they've actually made changes once they get to see them on either Twitter, YouTube, or whatever it is. Now, to be honest, you may not like some of these suggestions, but just be respectful in giving your own opinion. That's not something we have a problem with anyways in this community, so let's jump right into it. So one of the agents here on our community says, one way to fix the DZ is to make contractors only proc with LMGs, foxes should only proc with rifles, and Insync should not proc with shields. Now, this is something where I believe strongly that many people are quite aware of. These particular items, or two items and talent, seem to be at the crux of every build within the dark zone. Now, keep in mind, there are going to be changes being made to the gear system. We don't know exactly to what extent, but it's actually interesting to see that these items really do make up for a lot of different DPS builds that you have out there. Now, to be honest, I have to also say that I am not quite certain that this might be a good solution, but it does sound, in a sense, appealing. It sounds logical that contractor's gloves, which is part of the Petrov system, which is supposed to be something that, enhances LMG damage, be given to LMGs in a sense. So I think that makes sense because, you run an assault rifle build, you run an SMG build, you run a rifle build, everything. You got to throw that contractor's glove in there because it has that propensity for the 8%, damage to armor. That's actually really good, if you get what I mean. And then you also go ahead and you have, your Fox Superior knee pads, which is under the Overlord armament, which is basically a rifle based brand set for now anyways. And it also has 8% damage to targets out of cover. So what people are leveraging is not just the fact that it's an LMG and a rifle build. They're leveraging in that, but you also see all that extra damage. So if they did that, rifles would lose the extra 8% damage to armor. Yes, because you're not going to be running Petrov and that, but you can always go and run anything else. You can run an extra piece of Providence to get your, critical hit damage if you're running 3. It will still leave rifles in a good place, in my opinion. And then even if they made the Petrov for only LMGs, it will also leave LMGs in a decent place, because all you're losing is 8% damage to armor. That's not necessarily going to kill you, if you get what I mean. Now, here's the kicker, though. The kicker is this. They would have to go ahead and make amends to other brand sets to kind of allow for things to seem fair. Because yes, in the department of, say, assault rifles come with a standard health damage, about 21%. On a fully maxed out assault rifle, you have 21% health damage, and you can also get damage to armor on assault rifles. You can get headshot damage, you can get critical damage, whatever it is you want to roll on your brand sets. But the named item that comes with Fenris, I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's like a backpack or a chest piece, and it gives a specific talent. Somebody help me in the comment section. Fenris has its own name piece, but it doesn't seem to be something that has made its way into people building for assault rifles, because it just doesn't feel that powerful. Another item that could complement, assault rifles is a phantom. It is what's the name of the mask? This one, the Hollow Man mask, and it has 10% health damage. But before you clean out somebody's armor to get to health, you're probably not going to be benefiting as much from it, like we did before. This used to be a mask that had, I think a lot of hazard protection or something. I can't remember what they changed it from to this. So you can see the weaknesses showing up. Punch Drunk, in my opinion, works very well for a pistol build. I mean, in fact, you almost don't even need it, to be honest, because, when you have the hard hitters that are the Liberty and even the, what's the name? The Regulus. I mean, these things are doing almost 500,000 damage, or in the case of the Regulus, over 500,000 damage. If you spec well, they are insane weapons in terms of headshot damage. So you can look at the different named items and say there seems to be overall. This is not just a Fox's Prayer and the Contractor's issue. There seems to be overall some sort of a misbalance that the developers made these items really strong and just left it that way. Now to the matter of Insync, and I know many people may not agree with this. Like I said, to me, I just feel like there needs to be an overall working, not necessarily these items, but this is just kind of an opinion piece in terms of what we're looking at. So comment below as to your own ideas. So Insync is one of those that, in my opinion, I feel should not work with shields. Now, let me explain why, because there is a reason for that within the game already embedded. So Insync says hitting an enemy, grants 15% skill damage. That's basically with your bullets, or maybe even, I don't know, maybe with a melee. I guess that's what it is, for 5 seconds. Using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Now, I think they need to change this from using a skill into damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage, and make this exclusively damage dealing skills. And I get it. Some people may say, well, I use my healer build and I use my Insync to be able to buff my team's damage as well as my damage. And that's a whole conversation on Future Initiative that's actually out there. There's an OP build with Future Initiative that doesn't seem balanced in the game. I don't know if I want to talk about it now because we're benefiting from it on my, in my clan and our raid groups. And so I'm not even going to mention that just yet. We'll be, keeping an eye out just to see exactly what's going on. Now, here's why I say Insync is kind of weird. You see, in the field, research tasks that you do for your specializations in the Division 2, there is a particular set of tasks that you have to do. And one of them is actually killing an enemy with a skill. Now, here's the problem. If you, and then within the same field, what research stuff, you also have to also kill an enemy with a melee with your shield. Now, those two do not overlap. If you kill an enemy with a melee, on your shield, that only counts as melee on the shield. It never counts as killing an enemy with a skill. Like here it is in stage 4 of Firewall, it says eliminate enemies with melee attacks using the ballistic shield. If you also look at there, it says, there are also other ones that say kill an enemy with a skill, or kill some certain number of enemies with a skill, or whatever it is, and they don't intersect. So in those tasks, the game does not count you using your shield to make a kill as a skill. Rather, it counts it as doing melee damage, so they can categorize that in a whole different section that doesn't really allow for you to be able to just use that if this is something that they wanted to make a change regarding. And at the end of the day, like I said, you look at almost every build that's out there in the dark zone, you can almost guarantee that if you're going to be using some sort of a weapon DPS build, these two items almost always come into the surface, because not only do they, do well with their own specific set of weapon classes, they do well overall. Now, here is an overall thought. Here's something that you really have to take into consideration after everything. I think this stems from a problem where the developers did not necessarily see the need to make the game separate in terms of PvP and PvE. I think this is something that needs to be heavily considered. If they're going to have this kind of system in the Division Heartland, then it needs to be something that they do very well. PvP and PvE, as much as they want them to overlap in a sense, I think there needs to be boundaries in terms of what you can use. They've already started doing it. I mean, you can't use specialization weapons in the dark zone. So what is stopping them? What is stopping the developers from making, or at least taking the approach of making PvP specific paradigms as well as PvE specific paradigms in the game in order to resolve this? Because if they make a tweak to this, it then means that they will also have to balance NPC damage in heroic, in legendary, and in raids, because these do a lot of work in that sense, because those enemies are scaled way higher than, the enemy NPCs that you find in the dark zone. So here it is, it's a push and pull, and there's all these issues already, unless they do a PvP nerf like they did with Predator's Mark and Sentries back in the Division 1, is it possible for them to be able to successfully do this and then eventually see where it lands in the PvP meta? But anyways, I appreciate your comment. Based on this conversation, Mr. J. Kula, thank you so much for providing the conversation. And we'll also be going through other, responses. We're going through other, considerations as well. So please, in the comment section, leave a comment. If your comment is something that, I feel like is pertinent to some of our conversations, I'll pick it out. We'll talk about it. Thank you very much for watching. Peace out.